Before we jump into the spoilers,
there's a lot. There's more than people think.
Yeah,
there really is. I mean, you look at that. There's some dirt and some grime sticking to the scar tissue. You know, he's got some char from where he killed all the Jedi. You know, he's got Jedi bits stuck to him. It's kind of gross. You know, you need a bath after killing. Yeah, this is not Amazon Prime or HBO, so we have to keep it family friendly. And he seems totally calm about the whole thing. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, and that, you know, well, it's like the helmets that we wore when we were younglings. And kudos to OSHA for maintaining eye contact.
Not all the time.
A fair amount of eye contact there. I was impressed. That's a gnarly looking scar on his back too. Because she didn't have the mark on the forehead.
But this whole conversation, I went back and I watched it again today, and I wanted to watch it from the aspect of really keying in on what he was saying. And he was using very emotional words with her. The nonverbal communication was fantastic. The reaction in her eyes when he would say certain things, when we were Padawans, getting tossed aside, and getting her to admit that she failed as a Jedi. All of that. So I think if you go back, if you haven't really paid attention to this whole section, the first 10 minutes of this episode, go back, rewatch it again from that perspective, and really pay attention to what Kymir is saying to OSHA. It puts a lot of weight on this episode, and you start to begin to understand that my theory is that he wants OSHA to be the Acolyte, and I think she is the Acolyte of the series. OSHA has something that is similar to him, and throughout the course of this episode, we really see him really dive in on that. He really keeps pushing that button about the importance of the power of two.
I mean, the initial reaction from most people was oh, wait, yeah, I just saw you 2 episodes ago. You were the guy selling poison. Yeah, I think you're right. There is something deeper there.
There's a tie-in.
Surface.
Absolutely.
Which we will find out next week, but we'll wait and see. Probably not. And I like that.
I think so.
Yeah, the duality of the 2 different organizations too, which I think we're going to get into in a few minutes. It's kind of interesting. According to Wikipedia, emergency code 0 is the signal sent out that if a ship were to receive the signal, they were to immediately divert from its current task and assist. Sometimes you just got to turn it off and turn it back on again to see if it works.
Right?
It's not the first time, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of anger in that Jedi in the moment. A lot of loss.
Saul has several times throughout the course of these episodes given way to his emotions. He's more an emotional Jedi. He's which also makes him the Korean Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon was willing to give into his emotions and all these different things. Although I still think that Saul did something that was a little sus, and we got to figure out what that is. We still don't know what secret he's hiding at this point. We just know that he is carrying the weight of guilt for something, and it's eating at him. It's very clearly eating at him.
Yeah. Which is interesting because it seems like the Jedi are the ones with the secrets and the Sith are the ones telling the truth. Because historically, the Sith always tell the truth. You know, where were the lies? You compare in the original trilogy, hey, so this guy murdered your father. No, he is your father. Yeah, sure, we were training you to kill him without telling you who he really was. Like, okay, I can't deal with you. We're just going to do a factory reset, and then you're going to be a good boy. I mean, sure, they do it. They do it off screen. I don't have to see it happen. Yeah, that'd be cool, but it's also kind of fun the way it is.
I don't know that I could watch an entire spinoff, but I wouldn't mind him being a little bit more of a major character, much like a toddler.
So I'd like to point out, at this point in the timeline, Chewie is alive. We could have a Chewie Basil buddy cop show where nobody understands anything. We just have to infer from other people's reactions. It would be like one of the best things ever. You know, she's trying to keep the powers that be away from the Jedi. But why? Yeah, I would pay to watch that. I would actually buy physical media of that. I would buy action figures and t-shirts. I would buy coordinating underoos. Okay, I'm just saying. She's hiding stuff from the Jedi. She's hiding stuff from the Senate. She's hiding stuff from, her own Padawan, her own team, probably. What's up? Because in the novels, I haven't read them all, so I had to look this up. But in the New High Republic novels, she gets visions while she's in hyperspace. And Jedi don't trust visions because you can't rely on those.
Right.
Always in motion is the future. And so, she gets these weird ideas that kind of stick with her. And you know, nobody likes that. You know, tying them to that without their own, you know, independent authority, so that, you know, they get tied in that, they get wrapped up in politics, they stop focusing on the Force and actually helping people, and that's what brings about their downfall. Yeah, and we see that tradition of dishonesty continue, like into Clone Wars, even when the Jedi finally find out, hey, wait, the Sith set up the clone army for us. Don't tell the Senate. They're lumps. They might be dead. They've been gone for 900 years. And let's be honest here, just because your lightsaber is a red blade doesn't mean it leaves red marks on the tunic it goes through.
Right.
No.
The only thing that I don't know is if, I think she knows that something's happening. I think she knows that there is a bad guy doing bad things, but I don't know if she knows it's Chimere or if she thinks it's May doing something more. Because Saul never reported back after their encounter with May that there was somebody else. At least I don't recall him ever telling Vernestra that there was you know, the possibility of somebody else. Until they get to Kofar, that's when they have confirmation that there is somebody else, that that Chimere exists. Kathleen says, I think she knows it's Chimere. She might. Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of the cool things about this, is that we're not entirely sure what she knows, what she doesn't know, but there's definitely more to her story than what we've seen so far. And now looking back, and here's the other thing. This is why I said, when people were complaining about episodes 1, 2, and 3 and losing their goddamn minds over episode 4, why it was so important to go later on in the series.
Any other mystery or, you know, similar type story where it's the last 15 minutes where all these clues suddenly coalesce. You know,
right.
Well, that's why he killed that person in that place with that locate, you know, with that. So that'll be next episode, but I don't think we've seen everything from the last episode, which is great. I hate it when the ending is spoiled in the trailers. For all we know, Vernestra is Plagueis.
She whips her hair
back. All right, go ahead. What you got? Mentioning that it's like a sensory deprivation thing. And I mean, we do get a peek inside the helmet later, but that means that he was fighting all of those Jedi blind and partially deaf. If you've ever worn a helmet and tried to sword fight, that's hard enough when those are designed for you to maybe be able to see. This is not. So he has absolute trust in the Force in those moments. Yep. Yeah. That's terrifying. And those Jedi had a hard enough time fighting on unfamiliar terrain with trees that, you know, could tangle up their arms and their robes, making sure they didn't stab. Yep. He's a scary dude. He might be the scariest person in Star Wars so far. And we haven't seen Leia really angry yet. After Last Jedi, he could have like ascended to dark side greatness and been a really awesome villain, which I love this, especially because of how Return of the Jedi was originally theoretically going to end.
Right.
That George had written it at one point that at the end of Luke just picks up Vader's helmet and puts it on and becomes the next Dark Lord. But then decided to write the happy ending. Yeah, I thought that was a cool
Kumbaya ending. So
maybe not an intentional reference, but this is what made me think of. Yeah. I think it's interesting too. We were talking about how the Jedi aren't exactly the good guys and the Sith aren't exactly the bad guys. You know, you have the two sisters and Osha with Chimere. He's just, go ahead, try it. Do what you want. I don't care. Whereas Saul is, okay, I'm going to strap you down and you're going to listen to me, dang it.
Right.
That doesn't exactly scream good guy energy, which is why it's easy to, you know, fall for the dark side.
Yeah.
To think the Jedi are the bad guys, because every once in a while they do something that's kind of stupid. But yeah, I can agree with you on that. These are good Star Wars theories, not that guy. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's an entirely a possibility that the curvature of that whip is equal to the curvature of the scar on Chimere's back.
Yep. And Chimere gives indications that he's older than he seems. So going with that theory, you know, Vernestra is also older than she looks. She's over 100 years old. I forget exactly how old, but anyway. So if they figured out the dark side thing about extending your lifespan, like Plagueis was allegedly working on in Legends,
right,
then he's using that, and she might be using that to extend their lifespans, and she's infiltrated the Jedi.
Right. Since a Sith that close to him.
Leslie Headland did say there are 2 Sith in this show.
And even when Chimere came floating down out of the sky, Saul wasn't the first one to sense it. He did not sense the danger of the Sith there. I'm just, again, we're not saying, but we are saying that there's something going on here.
Right.
The extent of it has to be explained in the last 2 episodes, but there's some pretty cool stuff going on.
I would still love to hear Master Allen's thoughts on the fights. And,
absolutely.
And probably the week after that. Or is he giving that title to Osha because, like the Dread Pirate Roberts, it's like, well, I'm tired of this. I'm going to give this to the next person. We'll just kill off all the crew and move on. Yeah, where's my G-code? This is great breakdowns of different aspects of the show. It's wonderful. Okay, but does she have access to fire? That's why you bought them.
Oh, I love it.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpodcast.com.